This is Awakening. I'm Chandra Prasad, and we welcome our viewers around the world. The topic for the day is how to stay focused. And to talk on the topic, I have here with me a religious scholar and motivational speaker, Shree Santa Poudel. Santaji, let me welcome you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me once again.
Focus on yourself and be proud, and do not get lost in the crowd. I'd like to start our program today with this poem. I can say poem because I wrote it. I just trying to be funny here. Are we focused for this program?
We
Please
are
talk so.
because it is interesting. We are totally into it, and it is important that we remain focused and not get distracted by anything.
All right. So let's start talking about the other side of the coin. Focused in the other side of the coin is distraction, right? So what are the distractors? What causes us to lose our attention?
Let me define what distraction is first.
All right.
You kind of defined it already. Distraction is losing our full attention from something or the task at hand. Can be many things. Comes from different sources, both external and internal. There are visual triggers, social media, texting, phone, and those are external triggers that distract us. And there are some internal sources that distract us. When we're hungry, for instance, we get distracted from our task. If there's fatigue, we are sick, we are daydreaming, or we are recollecting some memories from the past, we get distracted from different means. When we talk about distraction and distractors, let me give you an example of distracted driving. There's a lot of talk on that, and there's a lot of studies on it. In United States, almost 25% of all motor vehicle crash fatalities are caused by distracted driving, be it texting while driving or being on the call or eating or whatnot. And according to some of the studies, nearly 700,000 people at any given time attempt to use their phones while being behind the wheel, while they're driving. That many people are trying to use their phones. So in one of the years, I think as recent as 2016, 390,000 injuries were caused by distracted driving. So by saying this, what I try to take you is that distraction can be fatal sometimes. That is why when you drive sometimes on Texas highways or highways all around the country, you see in the billboard it says, "Better left unread than dead." You know, one message can kill you. And before we go for driver's license in Texas, there's a program called Impact Texas Drivers Program. What it does is there's a 2-hour session on people's experiences with driving while intoxicated or distracted driving, and how they show you how some people die because they lift their phone to check their text. So distraction is not good for you, not good for your goal. And it can be fatal sometimes. So you should not be distracted. But we are living in a time where there are so many distractions around us.
So there are a lot of stimuli that compete for our attention. If let me give you an example. I'm trying to ask you a question, but let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. If we're working at workplace, there's emails, texts, people calling, someone is setting up a meeting. Or when we go to let's say a religious course or a sermon or anywhere, right? So there's other people trying to get your attention. That could be a distractor, right? So, but you just talked about the fatalness that comes from when you driving and then you're trying to text. That's very important. But when we work on our goal, which is long-term goal, not only like day-to-day life, trying to just meet the needs. But long term, someone's trying to be a lawyer or doctor, or they're setting up a goal, and then when they get distracted on their long range goals, what are those distractors? What may cause them to kind of, divert from their goal?
There can be many,
Okay.
not just one. People get distracted by many things. When I set my goals, if my goals are based on people's opinion about me, what I should do, uh, and I'm not interested in it, it is not something that I wanted to do in the first place, it is hard for me to stay focused on that goal. So one of the foundations for avoiding distraction is that we set our goals methodically. We set our goals based on our understanding of whether that is something that we really want to do, whether we have the resources we need to reach to that goal, whether it is time bound, it can be measured, right? When we calculate everything that matters to us, let's say I want to be an engineer. If I want to become an engineer based on my understanding of what engineering entails to me, whether I make enough money for my ends, or things like whether it is rewarding or not, whether I'm good at maths, because engineering definitely needs math or calculus, and things of that nature. If that is interesting enough, I have enough resources to become an engineer, I'm good at maths and all that, and I would be happy with the money that I would make becoming an engineer. All those things taken into consideration, when I set my goal to become an engineer, those distractions can be pushed away. However, a lot of times there would be people criticizing you, commenting you, and we seek to validate their concerns. Somebody would say, hey, why do you want to do engineering? Math is too tough. Why don't you go to IT? Because IT people make more money, and then we switch to other one. It is not our choice. It is based on somebody's attention of us doing things according to their wish and interest. That's what happens, especially in Eastern culture, in Nepal, India, and South Asian countries. We become what our parents want us to become, right? And then a lot of students commit suicide too, because the pressure, the academic pressure and all that to become doctors and engineers, some professions that they regard highly rewarding for them and prestigious, they get into those professions, they get into those academic fields, and they cannot succeed because those interests, those goals are not coming out of them.
So go ahead.
So we get affected by distractions when the decisions or the set goals are not based on our understanding of the situation. We don't have the moment of clarity about what those careers, what those goals entail to us, rather based on what people talk about it. And when we seek to validate their concerns, then distractions come. So it can be demotivating words that may serve as you're not good enough, you cannot do engineering. Some people may say that. Some people would say that, hey, engineers don't make enough money, and it's hard for you to find a job with that. Then you get distracted. So it can be all different sorts of distractions. But if you are focused on your goal, and it is your goal, and it is based on the vision of clarity, it is easier for you to stick to your goal and remain focused.
Yeah, the point is, if you're pressured, you can't be focused on it.
Yes, if you're pressured by outsiders.
Yeah.
That's why when we talked about intrinsic motivation, when, like I said before, your goals are sometimes, especially long-term goals, cannot be attained overnight, right? I was talking about being physically fit, or we're talking about being an engineer. I mean, it's like 6-7 years apart from me. If you're going to undergrad, or if you're just starting high school, it's like 6 years apart. So you gotta remain focused for those 6 years to become an engineer. To be physically fit, I don't know how many months you gotta work. You gotta go to the gym or be physically active or eat healthy. It takes a long run. And if you do not love the tasks that take you towards the goal, what happens? We get into those distractions because it is something that you don't enjoy doing. Because, like I said, those tasks are not always gratifying. But if you love coding, let's say, it's hard for you to get into IT and do good in that profession. But you just get into IT because somebody told you that you could make more money, then you cannot be motivated, you cannot stay focused. So if you are pressured, rather than you enjoy from within, enjoy the task, enjoy the processes, then you cannot be focused.
Yeah, so I'd like to give you an example. Earlier when we were shooting, there was a bang sound, and that bang sound caught my attention. And then I simply came back to our topic and we kept going. So that could be an example when someone is trying to get our attention, we're distracted, but to come back right away and start going what we're focused on, that's a good example.
That's a good skill.
Skill, correct.
Because there have been a lot of research and studies on staying focused. And one of the studies in University of California, Irvine, found that it takes anywhere from 5 minutes to 25 minutes if you are interrupted to get back to the original task. So it is hard to come back right away because your mind has to process those feelings and emotions and your experiences with that distraction. So it is hard to get right back in and take your awareness to what you were focusing on earlier. So to learn to get back into your task, even after distraction, while we're talking about distraction and remaining focused, we're not talking about just being blinded by the task. It's just that not losing focus while being aware of the situation, what's happening around. So do not let those distractions affect you, but be aware that distractions are there. That is what people call mindfulness, awareness, consciousness. When we're conscious of the situation and circumstances around and focus on our goals, that is the greatest skill to have, and there's nothing that we cannot achieve with a focused mind.
Concentration, that's what it comes. And concentration, how we can build the concentration, or how can we be so concentrated on what we're trying to do with, help us to get focused on it. Does meditation help on that?
Meditation, yoga, there can be a lot of practices that help with concentration. But before we get into that, let me give you an example. When I was in school, we'd go out of our classroom, take a magnifying glass, put it underneath, and we focus the light on the paper. And in a matter of few seconds, that sunlight focused on that particular point which caused the fire, right? By saying that, what I mean is that concentration has power. If we are focused, if we are single-minded, we are mindful towards our goal, there is nothing that you cannot do. But as we talked about earlier, we're living in this age of distraction, right? We care so much about our Instagram posts, our pictures. We care so much about we are so distracted by what is happening around us in digital world, and also what people are talking about us, and we get so swept away and we squander our precious time that we have on things that are not productive and useful for us to take us towards our goal. So to concentrate on your goal, to concentrate on one awareness or one situation is a tough task in this age. However, with meditation, with practice and learning how to do that, because to master anything, let's say if you want to be a good basketball player or a football player, you should know some of the skills, and on top of that you should also practice a lot. And there's a law of practice that says that the more you practice, the better you get it. You get at it, right? So if you know how to concentrate, it is not told, because the mind is one of the most advanced, most complicated tools we have, with which everything is invented in this world. The world that we are living in today is a reflection of our mind. It is so advanced, so technologically advanced. It is because of our mind, right? So to master that mind, to focus on a singular task at hand, requires a lot of practice and requires some training and skills. We'll talk about how to concentrate on particular topic or subject matter or issue at hand next other time. But meditation can be one of the most significant tools. Yoga can be another, right? Doing physical exercises certain time of the day can be another one. There are many other tools that help you with concentration.
Meditation is something like, if I wanted to put it into prospect, when we dive into a bottomless pit, we're simply just, you can say, flying at that moment, because there is no ground that we have a fear of falling on. And when we do that, then we're simply focusing on something. But the meditation that help us to do that, but if we do not have an interest on a goal, on a task, anything we do, is it possible to focus so much on it? Because sometimes when we're compelled to be focused on something because of our situation, for let's say, for example, someone has a very bad financial situation, being focused on something to get a job, anywhere from any way, right? Because that's his short-term goal, and then he got to have that, or she got to have that. She's or he is so compelled on it. Mm-hmm. They are focused, but that will not take us that far. But when we are so passionate, when we enjoy the thing, what we're doing, when we're setting up a goal that gives us amusement, enjoyment, passion, then that gives us some sort of exhilarating feelings, and then we focused on it. Is that the way we sort of set our goals, or we simply, set up a goal that is so lucrative or rewarding?
There's a method of setting our goals which is called SMART. It has to
That's
be,
a good point.
It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable, right? It has to be time bound, and whether you have enough resources or not. When you take those into consideration, we're just talking about meditation, right? A lot of times when people talk about meditation, they take you to a state of not thinking anything, nothingness. But mind wanders around things. Mind is a horse. It wants to run around all the time. And if you do not give it a place or situation to rest on or think about or ponder about, then it wanders around. So similarly, if our goals is not based on our understanding of the situation, it may just seem lucrative. It may interest us, but if we do not have enough resources and there's no timeline of the attainment of particular set of goals, smaller goals within the bigger one, then it is hard for us to set a goal or reach our goal. They talk about when we sleep, we have dreams, right? But when we set our goals so significant to us that they say dreams that do not let you sleep, right? When we have our goals that fulfillment of which is the most important thing in our life, then regardless of what happens, we're always focused. There are certain things we gotta do every day, right? We gotta work, we gotta we've gotta pay our bills, we gotta find a way to meet our needs. That always happens. But when we talk about longer term goals, the goals to drive you as far as the goal itself is, right? Let me give you an example. So when Siddhartha Gautama was born, there was a prophecy that if he could ever get out of the palace, there were two possibilities. He could become one of the greatest emperors in the world, or he could be the global spiritual leader. To prevent him from being a spiritual leader and renounce the royal status that he had, they gave him all the luxuries in the world and got him married at an early age, right? One day, somehow he could get out of the palace and he saw three people, one dead, one sick, and one old man. And he wanted to know, because he had never seen an old man or sick man or a dead man before, he wanted to know the answer why things like that happen. And he wanted to know the truth. And the goal of knowing the truth behind those situations was so strong in him that he left his wife, he left his royal luxuries, he left his wife, he kissed them goodbyes, and left at night in pursuit of his answers. He wandered around for so many years. And at an old age under a tree, he was enlightened with that understanding of why things like that happen. When your goal is based on your understanding of the situation and it is something that matters to you the most, you remain focused no matter what, right? When you make a decision based on others' pressures, when you set your goals on others' directives, what happens if something does not go right? We blame others and we say, they told me to do this, I don't want to do this, let me jump into something else. We switch around, we switch our tasks, we switch our goals so much, and we get nowhere. We probably become a jack of all, but we don't become a master of none. Say an Apple company, the company Apple, one of the biggest, one of the most profitable companies in the world. It does not have so many product portfolios, right? It sells iPhone, MacBook, and iPads. So you do not need to have so many goals, but prioritize your goals, make limited goals. When you do that, and that interests you so much, then you succeed, you reach your goal, just like Buddha did. He found the answer to those questions, why we suffer in the world.
A while back, I read an article on a blog post where Alina Brabille talks about the science behind concentration and improved focus, where she says, when we achieve a concentration where time slips by and our perception of the world changes, and allowing us to have a heightened ability to ignore outside stimuli, distraction. When we get the concentration, but a lot of times or most of the times we may not be able to get the concentration. What are those tips that you can share with us today for me and for our viewers that can help us to stay focused on our goals, either the short term or long term, day to day or in our whole life? What are those tips that you can share with us?
Thank you for this question. It is the reality that a lot of people do not have the skill set to stay focused on their goals. They haven't developed that concentration. So it is equally challenging and tough for many people to have that. It can be learned, it can be practiced. The most important thing to remain focused on whether long-term or short-term goals is to have a plan that means so much to you. You should have that motivation, you should find that motivation, the big why. You should have the answer to why did I start in the first place? Why did I choose to go on the path I chose, right? When you have that answer, when accomplishing that goal is more important than anything else to your life, there is no way you can be distracted. Let me give you an example. We read this story when we were probably in our middle school. There was a guy named Kalu. He was 45 years old. He had a wife and 2 beautiful daughters. He lost his wife and both daughters to cholera, one of the communicable diseases, right? Long time ago. Although he was upset by the death of his intimate family members, he was never thought that that death was coming near him. He didn't want to die, although he was bereaved by the loss of his family. He was a poor man, so what he would do, he would go to the jungle, cut the firewood, and sell it to the market and make his ends meet. He was growing weak because he would not have his regular meals, because when his wife was alive, she would cook delicious food for him and would better take care of him. But when she died, he could not focus on his diet and all that, and he was always upset about things. So one day, while he was carrying a load of firewood, he could not get up. And then he called on death, which we call Kal. Why don't you come and take me away with you as well? Because you took my wife and my 2 beautiful daughters with you. Why don't you take me as well? Coincidence. In the meantime, the death Kal was passing by him, so he heard his name. And he asked Lalu, the guy, why did you call me out? He was awestruck. He was like, I didn't call you out. Who are you? And Death said, you were calling for death, right? You were calling for Kal. Here I am. What do you want? Lalu could not believe him, because in his mind, death would be some monster-looking figure, right? Because death is horrifying to people, so he thought a good-looking man, young man with a good physique could not be death. So he could not believe him. So Death said, okay, let me prove to you that I'm death. I'm the god of death. So they walked around, and Death pointed Kalu to a middle-aged woman taking a bath. He said, her time is over in this world. I'm going to kill her now. So what he does, he pulls a root from a big tree. It falls down over her, and she dies instantly. He realizes that this guy is death for sure. Nervous, sweating, shaken from deep inside, he asks Death, hey, how much do I have to live in this world? Death says, you have 5 more years. After that, I'll come take you away with me. Like I said, although he was bereaved by the loss of his wife and his daughters, it was never in his mind that he would die so soon. 5 years' time. He realizes that he's got to do something about it. His goal changes in life now. He wants to do something to deceive death. He finds a big tree on the way to his house, a big, huge, humongous tree. He collects firewood, sells it whatever time he has. He goes inside that tree, builds a couple of beautiful rooms, and builds a tree house inside the trunk. Puts all his efforts, all his concentration, all his focus on that. 5 years has passed. Death comes knocking at his door. And before he dies, he asks Death, would you now want to see what I did in these 5 years? Can I show you something? It is my last wish. Would you not fulfill that? Death says, okay. If you really want to show something to me, better do it fast, but I'm okay with it. He takes Death to that tree house that he built underneath the trunk with a couple of rooms. Takes him inside, and Death is like, wow, you've done a fantastic job. How could you do this in a span of 5 years? You are so talented, so hardworking, and so skilled. While Death is looking around the arts and the designs of the rooms and everything inside, Lalu says, while you're just walking around, looking at things, can I go pee and come back right away? He comes out of the treehouse, locks the door, and put the lock in it. Death is inside, trapped. Right? And when death is trapped, nobody dies. And the population of the world grows because nobody is dying. People are old, but they won't die because death is locked inside. And the God, Lord Vishnu, comes in. He realizes that the population in the world is increasing. He comes into the world disguised as a Brahmin and figures out that it is because of Lalu that death is trapped inside. He convinces Lalu, he's too old now, 150, 60 years old, too weak to do anything. Now he's tired of his life, but he won't die because death is locked inside it still. So the Brahmana convinces him that if you unlock that door and let death be free, I'll make you younger with all the energies. He agrees. He goes in and sets death free. And when Lord Vishnu appears before Lalu, death is upset by what happened to him, and he says that I don't want to do this job anymore. So Vishnu says, if everyone says like that, how is the world going to run in an effective, efficient manner? Nobody has a right to forsake their duties and responsibilities. And that day death thinks for a moment and says, under one condition I'm ready to keep this job. That is, from this day onwards. From this day onwards, let it be that I can see people around me, but nobody can see me. As it is said in that story, that is the reason why death sees all of us, but we cannot see death. That inner passion, right? That goal that he said, the motivation to stay, to live longer in the mind of that 45-year-old man. He was so focused on his task that no distraction, no disappointments, no hunger, no sleepiness, no fatigue affected him in building what he built. So the most important thing, or the foundation of staying focused, is to have a goal that drives you beyond your limits. Nothing else matters. When you have that, the other tips work. You review your progress regularly. You review your daily activities. You review your progress towards the goal on a regular basis, monthly basis, weekly basis. When you do that, you know where you are and how far you gotta go. That gives you a sense of motivation. Right? And then when you focus on important tasks only, because like I said, we focus on so many things. A lot of times people think that multitasking is a good thing and they take it as a compliment, but it has been correlated with lower IQ, mistakes, and missed subtle cues. So do one thing at a time. Give you 100% on what you do, what you think about, the task at hand. And a lot of time we procrastinate, right? We do not rationalize differing our plans and goals. I'll do it later. Don't you ever say that. Surround yourself with good people so that you get that good vibes to stay focused. Do not surround yourself with negative people, negative thoughts. When you do that, your motivation goes down. You switch your mind so much. And eliminate distraction and time wasters. Right? The phone, the social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all the time that we spend on those things. Some people suggest that you should take some tech vacation from those tech devices. When we were in college, one of the assignments that we got in our computer class was, imagine that you don't have any electronic device for a day. What would you do? And we wrote some imaginary stories about spending quality time with our significant others or friends and, talking to them about life and life experiences. Imagine for a moment how rewarding it can be, how fulfilling it can be to spend some quality time with our people, right? So eliminate those distractions. Technology, if we're using it instead of it using us, when you hear that beep, our hand goes to that phone right away. Oh, some important text, some important comment on our Facebook post or Instagram. Whether tech is using us or we're using it. For a lot of people, technology is taking over their lives. Avoid those distractions because they are not productive for you. They are not taking you any closer towards your goal. When you do that, it's easier for you to concentrate, because when you are into these distractions, it is hard to break out of this mental habit of switching things and being distracted. You become habituated to them. So find a goal that you are so interested and passionate about. When you are on that, concentration becomes surprisingly easy. It's not hard for you to focus on your goal when your goal drives you beyond your limit. So have these tips in mind, but when you set a goal, the most important thing is to set your goal that drives you, that you are so passionate about.
So what is our surroundings? What are the technologies we have? All of these we can use, but we use it for our purpose, but not to be so obsessed with those items or whatever it is. That way we can utilize it, but we still focus on our task and our goals.
Yes.
With that note, thank you so much for your time, and we covered pretty much all about how to stay focused. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in our next episode. Have a blessed day, and thank you once again.
Thank you. Have a good day.